Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all doing out there? I hope you're all staying safe as we continue to experience this pandemic. My prayers are with you all. Now, today, the question before us is about what is the difference between anger and resentment. Now, this is a follow-up question to the last video that I spoke about resentment. Now, there would be clear definitions for the word anger and resentment in the dictionary, but let me use a definition from the writers of psychology today. They define anger as a negative feeling ranging from mild irritation to intense fury and rage, while another writer on good therapy defines resentment as an anger experience as a result of unfair treatment, which is also a relatively common emotion. Now, bearing those definitions in mind, it is suggesting that there is a slight difference between both behaviors, but they can easily intertwine into each other simply because of how a partner may be impacted by the emotions that they are experiencing due to that unfair treatment. Okay? So the next point I would like to make is resentment can also be viewed as a type of unspoken language or unspoken anger, which can be detrimental to your relationship. Because when you're not understanding or being aware of what your spouse is going through, and they only respond with body language and emotions, that in itself can be a roller coaster in the relationship. Now, I want you to bear in mind also that anger is more of a strong feeling of displeasure, right? While resentment, on the other hand, is more of a feeling of bitterness experienced because of a situation or because of some unresolved issue within the relationship. So there's a slight difference where that is concerned. But I also want you to bear in mind that resentment, though, has a slight difference. It is not the same thing as an anger outburst, right? Rather, it is more of an emotion that keeps the mind locked in on the things that a spouse may not be comfortable with over a period of time. So, resentment is different than an anger outburst, but it, in the long run, when there is resentment, then it can also lead to anger outbursts. Because when a spouse is not satisfied or a spouse is uncomfortable about something and they're not sharing it, and it is there built up over a period of time, then that outburst may come eventually. I would also like to add that anger, though, is not always in a negative light, because sometimes it is the concept of individuals that anger should not be experienced in a relationship. But let me put it this way: anger can be used to stand up for your truth and injustice within the relationship. Now, the danger, though, that couples need to bear in mind is when anger is used as a weapon or as a means of intimidation or to hurt your partner, and also to control each other, and also when it is stored up from unresolved issues or problems that you're not talking about, but you're having concerns and they're there just adding to each other over maybe long period of time. So if anger is used in any of those examples that I may mention of, then that is dangerous to your relationship. Here's an extra tip. One of the ways that you can know when anger is unhealthy is to observe your emotions when you're upset about something, right? The thing is, a spouse should not have feelings of regret with expressing him or herself, even if it was said with a slight anger emotion. So when you're through expressing yourself, you should not have a regretful attitude at the end, because that could suggest that whatever was said was not done in the correct way. Even as I said, even if there's a little anger emotions that come into it, it would be more of speaking your truth or expressing yourself. But once it is done in a respectful way, then you should not be feeling any regrets. So anger done with disrespect and in a disruptive way is unhealthy for your marriage. It is typical though that if you feel resentment, you're also in the long run maybe going to feel angry. So resentment left unattended usually gets worse with time instead of better, which will create significant barriers to intimacy on all levels in your relationship. So it's not something good to keep up. It's something that needs to be resolved, and to be resolved as soon as possible. My final thought, as I try to share the difference, is that one also need to be careful of misplaced anger. Because whenever anger is misdirected, it is never positive. And when anger is directed towards you for the wrong cause, or towards your spouse for the wrong cause, it can have serious implication to your relationship. It can be seen as more like a stop sign. So do not wait until resentment or anger just boiled up, because it will spill over into an outburst type of a situation, which can create additional problems within your relationship. When anger is not handled properly, it can cause irreparable damage to your union. And so it is very important to work around these things sooner than later. So that in a nutshell is what I would suggest would have been a slight difference between anger and resentment. I hope this shed some light to your question, and I wish you all the best. Blessings until we talk again.